Let's welcome in Bald Eagle area head coach Jesse Nagle and senior players Gavin Eckley and Tre Greene. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming live in studio here, and hopefully we're able to get everything sorted out with levels as we are sharing mics on the show. But thank you guys so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us on. This is a great opportunity to have our guys on air, so we appreciate it.
We'll start with you, Coach. Coach Jesse Nagle, going into his 7th season with Bald Eagle, fresh off of the 8-3 overall record, 5-1 in the Mountain League, and second in conference. Coach, to get back to somewhat of normalcy in this season, what are going into the season? What has that been like with all the from the lowest lows of the COVID-19 pandemic, the restrictions, what the players have been through, what the coaches have been through, to get back now to just the light at the end of the tunnel? What has that been like for you?
It's been a relief. It's actually kind of strange, not worrying about masks, not worrying about kids missing because being sick or taking temperatures, anything like that. It's been a relief and it's been awesome.
And I want to ask the same to you guys, Gavin and Trey. We'll start with you, Trey. What has it been like from the players' perspective to go through all of that, and now it's like, hey, finally, I have my first normal season, or close to it, my senior year?
Yeah, it's really good when the first couple of years during that, it's hard to build player relations, because you have guys, some different groups that hang out outside of football, but within the team, it's kind of hard to build those relationships. But when you're all back together, it's a lot easier.
And I want to ask the same thing to you, Gavin.
I'm glad to get back in the groove of things and not have to stress out over sicknesses and all being together in the locker room and weight room and just getting after it for guys.
Well, guys, I appreciate that perspective. And again, the Bald Eagle area head coach Jesse Nagle, along with players Gavin Eckley and Tre Greene, joining us in studio here live with myself, Zach Sako, and Jason Lord, co-hosts of PA Prep Sports Breakdown. Now let's talk about that season. Let's break down that season. Guys, you really had a successful season last year, and 8-3, 5-1 in the Mountain League. Coach, we'll begin with you. What was the most rewarding part of that season? The district semifinal game was the end result, but what were some of the positives to take away from that season?
I think there was a lot. First of all, our seniors did a great job leading our team, and then these underclassmen too here, multi-year starters. They did an outstanding job, developed as the season went on, and we started a lot of young guys. Had a lot of sophomores and freshmen on there, and these juniors, along with those seniors, did an outstanding job, kind of getting them up to par. And, by the end of the year, we're clicking on pretty good full cylinders. Unfortunately, we just ran into a dog we couldn't compete with at that time. But, it was a great season. I think, something to build off of. And, we really look forward to this season.
Where's that team after the Clearfield game? It was 21-0 in week 2. You're 1-1, and you end up finishing 8-3. So obviously, everything beyond that point was a huge success up until Forest Hills. But I want to ask you first where the team is, what the message was to keep everyone's heads on straight, and then for Trey and Gavin, how you guys reacted, how you responded to that message, Coach.
Well, we look at it as a complete season. Our end goal was to win a district title, state title. We don't really look to winning, the game here and there. We look at it as developmental. That Clearfield game, we knew we're up against a, pretty big task. They had an outstanding defensive line. We were very, very young up front. So we couldn't really do much offensively, but defensively, we took a lot out of that game. They were a very high profile offense. We held them 7 points in the first half. Realistically, to this day, I still fight it that it was an incomplete ball. It should have been 0-0 at halftime. And we missed some plays. We missed some plays offensively. We dropped some. We overthrew some. Of course, we missed a lot of blocks. But, we took it as a positive. That was a very veteran team that we held with toe-to-toe. And other than Bedford, probably gave them their best match of the year.
obviously a younger team gains experience, get better by week 8, by week 9. But what's the biggest thing? Yeah, obviously as a coach and you guys as players, what's the biggest thing you learn when you're dealing with a team that has that inexperience that you're able to take away as a coach? Number one, that you're able to teach these guys going forward, and for you guys as players, what's the biggest thing that you learn that you gain the experience that you're able to teach to those guys now that are coming in as freshmen and sophomores?
You guys want me to go first, or you guys want to? Okay. We look at, our football team as a family. So big brothers, taking care of little brothers. And, I think that was huge last year. We had a lot of little brothers, and, these guys had to really come together, and, there were some tough times. I mean, there's no doubt there's some ups and downs in the game of football, and, we, of course, had them. And I think these guys did an outstanding job, especially these two, knowing that they were those young ones at one time. Trey started as a sophomore and Gavin started as a freshman. So they knew what, kind of what they had to do to take them under their wings. And again, that family atmosphere, that brotherhood is, key to our program.
What also, you look at to talk about the family atmosphere, how much did it feel really to have? You talk about the sense of normalcy now where you're going to have practices. You're not going to have as much of a fear. I don't know if you could ever say we're normal, but I think you're as close to normal as we'll get. How much does it feel now also having that stadium packed again with full capacity, having those fans back really to cheer you guys on Friday nights where you didn't really have that for really a year and a half almost?
We'll let Trey go first.
Yeah, it feels really great to know that we're going to have those fans back in the stands cheering us on and to really have that atmosphere again. Sometimes it gets a little bit hard when you're playing for an empty stadium to have that motivation. It sometimes gets hard, but just to have them back there cheering us on, it means a lot.
Gavin.
Like Trey said, I just think it people in the stands supporting us the whole way through the season, and just they have our backs through it all, and they come out to support us every Friday night. Yeah.
It must be a great feeling here. This is PA Prep Sports Breakdown on State College's ESPN Radio. Bald Eagle area football head coach Jesse Nagle, along with players Tre Greene and Gavin Eckley, joining us in studio. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk about the players individually, what they are doing off the field leading up to the season to get prepared for their senior campaigns, and then previewing that 2022 season and how the team can build off the 2021 performance. It's PA Prep Sports Breakdown on State College's ESPN Radio.
Now back to PA Prep Sports Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450. We will rock you. Let's get the inside info on this week's matchups with the Scouting Report.
It'll be this season's matchups as we go into the 2022 fall season. Bald Eagle area football team is in the house. Head coach Jesse Nagle and senior players Tre Greene and Gavin Eckley. Jason Lord, my co-host, alongside myself, Zach Sako. We are live in studio, the first of its kind here on PA Prep Sports Breakdown. The show's almost a year old, so gentlemen, thank you again so much for your time. This part, I'm really excited about this because we are going to get to know Trey and Gavin much more personally as players and who you guys are as individuals off the field. Trey, we'll start with you. You're 5'10", 190 pounds, listed at linebacker. You led the team in tackles a year ago. You led the team in sacks a year ago. You've gone to some of the summer camps to showcase your talent, whether that's Albright College, Coastal Carolina, and just right over here in the backyard, Penn State as well. And Gavin attended that same camp at Penn State too. But Trey, getting into football and then making it this far, what's the journey been like for you so far?
It's been a ride, just having some people that support me the whole way, and really just seeing where it takes me and how far I can go with the sport.
And what kind of linebacker, what kind of player would you describe yourself as? A cerebral player. You understand the game. You're able to read the plays very well. Someone who's smart. You have the athleticism, of course. You're being considered, you're going to these college camps. But what kind of player would you say that you are on the football field?
I'm a guy who just likes to prepare for every game and go through all the situations in my head. So I'm prepared when I get there. And also, I like to play very physical.
What are your favorite aspects of the game? Whether that's making the big hit or making the big play. You do a lot of, mostly all defense. I mean, you're the lead guy on defense going into this season for Bald Eagle. But for yourself, what do you want to be able to accomplish in practice to get better? Just what are your favorite aspects about this game?
Some of my favorite aspects are just the bond that you create with your teammates along the way, and just how this is the only game on earth that even comes close to the feeling you get when you run out under the lights on a Friday night.
Gavin, I'll ask the first question before I throw it back over to Jason, but kind of the same thing. You're listed at 5'7", 150 pounds. You were AA All-State kick returner, punt returner, so you have the offensive game to you. You were second on the team in tackles, so you're a two-way player. I'd go as far as three-way with what you're able to do on special teams. You had 5 total touchdowns last year and having multiple in the special teams game. What's been your favorite part on the football field? Is it returning the punt for a big play? Is it taking back a kick? Is it making the big hit, or is it getting involved in the ground game on offense?
I like punt return, kick return, because I just like to just go as fast as I can down that field and seize them away and see if we can try to score, get some good yardage. I like I like defense too, because you have to be really heads up about who's on the field and like what formation they come out in or whatever. But yeah.
Hey, you look, we're in the backyard, obviously, Penn State. James Franklin always preaches the 3 phases of the game. What's it like, obviously, you talk about special teams. What's it like having that impact, really, where you could change the game with one play?
I just think that it's anyone's game all throughout the game. Like you can't give up at halftime or third quarter, fourth quarter. You just have to keep your head in the game, and keep on keeping on, I guess.
How tough is it for, and I welcome either of you can answer this one. How tough, obviously, preparation week to week is always the same, in terms of, but you have that week 1 game. Well, you have that scrimmage first and foremost. You have 2 scrimmages there, and then you have that week 1 game. How much tougher is that preparation for that game? Because you're thinking all summer, like, man, we got to. You think about that opponent, no matter who it is. You get ready and you're thinking, man, we got to get back on the field. Here we go. How much tougher is it to get ready for that week 1 opponent, as opposed to where you get into this schedule, you get into the rhythm of going week to week, because you just have so much time to think about that scrimmage and then that week 1 opponent?
It is really tough to get ready for week 1. You think about all the time that you have to pick apart your opponent. They have the same amount of time to pick you apart. The other thing is you have a lot of guys coming up that may have never seen a varsity play before. You have to get them ready for the speed of the game and how it goes at a much faster pace.
I just think like scrimmages and camps and whatnot like really help you see like where your team is at and where like you would like to be come the first game of the season. I just think that it's a good like a good tune-up game for like the start of the season.
Bald Eagle area football players Gavin Eckley and Tre Greene, along with head coach Jesse Nagle, joining us live in the studio here on PA Prep Sports Breakdown, our high school sports show. Coach, you selected these 2 individuals to accompany you. I know you could have picked a bunch of players, and you got other guys on the team that have contributed so much and are going to contribute so much in 2022. But what makes these 2 so outstanding on the football field and as young men?
Well, I think, first of all, Gavin's a 4-year starter. Trey's a 3-year starter. Trey on offense is that silent guy that's, a tight end, doesn't get a whole lot of stats, but, he's a heartbeat there too. And then Gavin on both sides of the football and special teams, like you said, his stats speak for themselves and his accolades. So I thought, looking at these 2 guys, they're very well deserved of this. They've been there, done it so many times, on the football field. So, I thought that, these guys are leaders for us. 2 great choices.
We're going to take one final timeout here on PA Prep Sports Breakdown, and we come back, the official 2022 schedule preview of the Eagles of Bald Eagle area here on State College's ESPN Radio.
Now Now, back to PA Prep Sports Breakdown on ESPN Radio 1037 and 1450. Get in on the action by calling the show at 814-272-9625.
Bald Eagle area football head coach Jesse Nagle and senior players Gavin Eckley and Tre Greene in studio with us here on State College's ESPN Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just tuning in, we brought the guys in around 5:30. We heard from Autumn Tobias, a fellow classmate softball grad from Bald Eagle area. Her phone call conversation will be up online, foreverstatecollege.com, along with this exclusive interview here in studio with the football team. Jason Lord, my co-host, Zach Sako here with you. And the final segment, it's to officially preview the 2022 football season and the schedule, but we do got to do a little more recap and review. Coach Nagle, I will start with you. Jason will definitely have some questions as well, but there's a lot of talented guys that are off the roster this year, and that's just virtue of graduation. One of them, Garrett Burns. Burns racked up the accolades, had multiple 100-plus yard games, basically took the ball every time that Bald Eagle area called a run play. I'm not asking how you replace him. How do you adjust from losing an impact that he always brought?
Yeah, he was an outstanding player for us. There's no question. These two guys are going to be in the backfield this year. They kind of waited their turn. Garrett Burns waited his turn. So these two guys and a couple other guys, Cameron Dubbs and Nate Fry. So we have a lot of horses in the stable. We'll just see which one that actually, takes the ball and makes the most out of it.
Just getting into one question real quick before we get into 2022. Is it different for you as a coach trying to adjust over the summer now with players? Obviously, college football, realistically speaking, has changed dramatically in these last 2 years. Is it different for you in the sense that you have to accept it more that these players will be doing that extra stuff, like especially basketball, AAU basketball, which was kind of frowned upon, is now you really embrace it now? Is it different for you now to have to embrace more camps, more opportunities for these guys?
No. It's about opportunities in life, I look at. So, whatever these gentlemen, either one of these guys or anyone, want to go to camp, I'm for it. They want to do different things, I'm for it. Other sports, we're a small school, so we've always been sharing athletes. We work very well with the basketball coach and baseball coach to make sure that we can get to things. We stay away from we lift in the mornings 3 days a week. We do our skills stuff on Sunday nights away from everybody else. So, we do the best we can in a small school district to share our athletes and make sure that we work together as coaches.
Guys, is there any pressure because Coach said that you guys have waited your turn and now that is your role? There's no more guessing anymore. Hey, when am I going to take the rock? When's my name going to be called? Gavin, you got a fair amount of touches in the offense last year and, of course, the special teams game. But now that you could be one of the focal points in the offense, and then, Trey, we'll go back to you just kind of embracing more of an offensive role here. Gavin, now that you are assuming that responsibility, is there any pressure? How are you handling it?
There's not as much pressure. I just want to go out there, see how I do, see how the ball moves down the field, and see what we can do to help out the team and make this work, score as many touchdowns as possible.
And of course, name of the game. Team with most points wins. But Trey, it's kind of the same thing. With that increased role in the offense, what do you want to be able to bring and then be able to double down on it as a defensive leader?
I just want to be able to bring an aspect of the game that will help my team, which I think is leadership and experience. Like we mentioned before, we have a lot of young guys, so just that experience on the field can definitely help them out in the long run.
Now you jump into the 2022. Obviously, it's right around the corner. And I got to throw this one in just because, and I know obviously I played high school sports, our rival. We used to play them at the end of the year, and then they moved it up to get week 3, and it was different for us. Like, oh, come on, we got to play these guys at the end of the year. I know you guys obviously have friends in Bellefonte. What's it mean now to play them? You play the schedule you're playing. I get that. What's it mean now to play them earlier in the year now as opposed to when years ago you played them at the end of the year?
It's definitely different to play them in the middle of the year. We also see it as a bigger opportunity to help prove ourselves along the season, though. it just makes the game that much more worth it. Because sometimes when you're either out of contention or you already have that playoff spot secured, that takes a little bit of competitiveness away from the game. But when everybody's still in the hunt and it's anyone's game, you really, both sides got to go after it at all times.
I just see as another game in the season, another hill to climb to reach our goal at the end, which would be a championship. And I think playing them at the beginning of the season helps our team, boosts our confidence, if you would. But just see how our team reacts to the win or loss against them.
Senior players Tre Greene and Gavin Eckley, along with head coach Jesse Nagle of the Bald Eagle area football team. We're under 4 minutes here, so we got to go rapid fire. The 2022 season begins on August 26th against Troy and wraps all the way up with Wellsboro. Again, this team came off an 8-3 overall record, 5-1 in conference, making it to the district semifinals. Coach Nagle, what are going to be some of the toughest obstacles of this season, whether that's a few specific opponents or just to adjust with the talent that you have for this year coming off of 2021?
I think with last year's team coming back, a lot of the same pieces. So adjusting wise, talent wise, we kind of have the same philosophy offensively and defensively. We did maybe a little more 3 down this year, but schedule wise, every opponent is tough. The Mountain League was a little down last year. This year there's a lot returning. We expect great competition right away week 1 the whole way through week 10. So I don't really see anybody definitely circling. We circle week 1. So I know that week 1 through 10 is going to be a battle.
How much does that help? Obviously, even you go back to when there were 4 classifications, and District 6 AA was always really tough and really competitive. How much does that prepare you guys as a whole really to get ready come playoff time?
Well, I think, a couple years ago, even last year, you look 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 3 years ago when we made our runs, I always said the Bellefonte, the Clearfield, the Penns Valley, those guys are better than anybody we saw until those semifinals. State semifinals. So, last year with having I guess not as tough Mountain Lake was actually a down, not a good thing because, we came into Forest Hills and they punched us in the mouth and we fought back very well till, late third quarter and they just kept on punching. We didn't have an answer. We didn't have an answer for that running back, for the big lineman. If we had seen a couple Clearfields last year, maybe it would have been a different story when, we would have been used to it a little bit more. So the tough competition, I definitely like it. Going into the new LHAC, combination with them, we're really pumped about that because, we're going to see somebody good week in, week out.
Just under 60 seconds here. So, guys, the last question is yours. Gavin Eckley and Tre Greene. Trey, we'll start with you. What are the goals that you have set for the season real quick, whether that's the team goal and you personally as a player?
As far as the team, we want to take one game at a time. Really just emphasize each week and play the best we can in that week. And then we'll move on to the next week. Win or loss, you either have to learn or you don't. We really just try to emphasize that and keep going.
Gavin, you got the last word. Your personal goals and the team goals from your perspective.
Like Trey said, we just have to take it one step at a time and just see where the road takes us and help out the team as much as possible.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming in studio. Ladies and gentlemen, head coach Jesse Nagle, Gavin Eckley, and Tre Greene of the Bald Eagle area football team.